Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Listen, while you are enjoying your families today, I wanted to I've been studying all day today, preparing for this message here, and I know this is our news broadcast channel, and there are a lot of things going on. And just quickly, just to let you know, we have, like in this case, the situation RT was putting out that a guy named Shift said U.S. head for the economic disaster worse than 2008. Peter Schiff tells Boom Bust today. And and I've been hearing this already, that in next year, 2019, probably in the spring of the year, they're expecting another 2008 type scenario, type of crash here in the United States. But at the same time, everybody's saying as long as President Trump's in power, we're not going to have those problems. So anyway, so I'm kind of looking at these things right here, and I just wanted to let you know as we are looking at the news. But I felt like today, while you guys are enjoying your families, because a lot of people, they travel this time of year, the holiday time of year, to spend time with family. Thanksgiving is something that many people do celebrate. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, then most people are just getting together with family and friends and having a nice day off, except for the folks at Walmart. And, it's just kind of nuts. But anyway, I think this message is really going to be a blessing to you guys. And before I get started in it, let me just remind you, in the event they take off Israeli News Live, DeNoon Institute, I'll put the links in the description below for you. That's our teaching channel. We've got about 40,000 people there, but here we have close to 300,000. And also, if you're not subscribed, check. You need to make sure you're subscribed here to Israeli News Live. Not to mention, this video will pop up on all kinds of channels everywhere. Look at where you're seeing the video at. Is it Israeli News Live? Is it our actual YouTube channel? If not, subscribe. And if you think you're subscribed, check again, because YouTube is taking you guys off at the tune of 50 people a day. That's why we're not growing leaps and bounds like we were. It's because they're unsubscribing the people on a regular basis. The more we teach the truth, the more they try to get rid of people. So at any rate, I want to get right into this message here. So I'm going to put the links in below for you. Even Fact News Network, we are going to start loading little short news clips that don't even run on Israeli News Live, just to help build you guys up a platform there as another backup channel. And DeNoon Institute, I'll put it in the description below. And again, we want to thank you too for you guys supporting the work we do. We really sincerely thank you, because without you, we can't do this. Anyway, Isaiah 57. Listen, I got a lot of comments, or quite a few comments, I should say. People were saying where I brought out about Daniel chapter 2, said Chuck Missler has actually taught on that before. I had no idea. And so I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. In fact, if you're watching this broadcast, if you have a link where Chuck taught that, I would really greatly appreciate knowing about that. Because Chuck was a very nice man. I met Chuck. We filmed together. We were doing a clip for the History Channel. The History Channel didn't end up airing that broadcast, but it was still a wonderful time to spend with Chuck up there at Coeur d'Alene, up in Idaho, when he came over. And so I got to know Chuck pretty well. And I still got footage of that interview. I don't think it's ever aired anywhere other than little clips here we've aired. But at any rate, let me share this with you here, because I'm going deeper into this research of that mingling of the seed. And I had suspected already that Israel had done this even before what we see in Ezra, and the proof is there. But in Isaiah 57, it's even more serious. So we're going to be looking at Isaiah 57. We're going to go back to Ezra 9, where we already know the mingling of the holy seed took place with the priests and Levites. Psalm 106 is going to show you definitively that the children of Israel, the 12 tribes, had already mingled their seed before ever they went into Babylon. Then we're going to be looking at Proverbs 24. That's a shocker in itself. And Psalm 37. And of course, finishing out with Daniel 2 once again. So let's get right into this. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart. Godly men are taken away. None consider that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. That's an event that's going to happen on this earth in the not so distant future. This may be one of the reasons why Paul writes, as I know it's such a big debate, rapture. Is there a rapture? Not a rapture? Is it pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib? There's all kinds of things. And I will say this, the people that do not believe in a rapture, they focus on the scripture where it says that he that endureth to the end, he shall be saved. There's a lot of truth in that. And I think that's something that if the different camps would come together and quit trying to beat each other up over doctrinal debates over this and recognize that, one, those that don't believe in a rapture, that it's not so much a rapture, but there comes a time that God has to hide away his children because he's bringing judgment on this earth. And if he didn't hide them away, they would all perish with the ungodly. That's why Isaiah says this, the righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart, and godly men are taken away. None consider that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. Now that could also apply to just the fact that evil is coming and their lives are cut short. They went by the way of the grave. I realize that. But that's not what we're going to focus at. I want to show you some amazing things here. Let's continue on. He entereth into peace. They rest in their beds, each one that walketh in his uprightness. But draw near hither, ye sons of the sorcerers, the seed of the adulterer and the harlot. All right, right there. B'nai onona, zara mena'ef. All right, ve tizaneh. All right, so he's talking to the children of Israel. He says to you, draw near hither, you sons of sorcerers, the seed of the adulterer and harlot. You got to keep in mind, friends, Babylon hadn't taken place as of yet, but he's already showing you using sorcery. Who used the sorcery? It was the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusite, the Ammonite. They were the ones using the sorcery in order to bring about to pass through the fire to Molech. This is what God had warned Israel. Don't do after the abominations of those nations, for they were using sorcery. This is how the Nephilim got brought in. And you know, I know I got to do this. I hate to have to go every time I open the Bible here to share with you guys, but inevitably there's always some guy out there that has to run up and send me a comment, look here, Numbers chapter 13, and say, oh, quit teaching from the book of Enoch. There's no such thing as Nephilim in the earth today or even back in those days. Okay, this was Moses writing it, right? Numbers 13, last verse. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come of the Nephilim, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so were we in their sight. So, you know, the guys that think this, and by the way, if you look in Genesis 6, in the Hebrew language, yeah, it's Nephilim, all right? So let's just get over it, deal with it. It's right here. I'll highlight it for you. And again, it's right here. Now, it is, as I've stated before many times in the past, Nephilim over here is the sons of the fallen angels. But this, they put the vowels in the wrong place. It's Hanaphalim. So Anak, not Enoch, Anak, all right? He was a he was Anunnaki. He was from an actual fallen angel. So yes, they were, after the flood, Nephilim on this earth, all right? Back to Isaiah 57. But the children of Israel had mingled their seed even with those families, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Anakis, everything. That was all going on back during the time they came into the land. That's why God says, but draw near hither, you sons of the sorcerers, the seed of adulterer and the harlot. Yeah. Their children, Israel's own children. Against whom do you sport yourselves? Against whom make you a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are you not children of transgression and seed of falsehood? This one blows me away, this one right here. Against whom make you a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? It literally says that. Al mi, upon who, tachavu, pe, all right, you broaden your mouth like a cobra. He's giving you the visualization of a cobra snake. Ta'arechu leshon. You know, and you draw out your tongue like the snake. So he's not only telling you that they're the children of sorcery, but he's letting you know they're from a reptilian race, a serpent race. No wonder why Jesus, when he comes in and he says, you are your father the devil, and his works you'll do, right? You that inflame yourselves among the terebinths and under every leafy tree, that slay the children in the valleys under the clefts of the rocks. Wow. And we wonder about this, right? It says it right there. Shachati hayeladim. They sacrifice little kids, murder them. And then I think to myself, in the modern state of Israel today, the military arrests 1,000 children, Palestinian children, a year without due process. And not to mention the Vatican, all this pedophilia. Think about what's going on the southern border here in the United States. All these little children that go missing because you separated them from their mothers and fathers. And no, I'm not going to just throw Trump under the bus. Yes, Obama was just as guilty as Trump was on that. Where'd all these kids go? Is there any accountability, or are you sacrificing them? Are you eating them? You know, I've run across some very interesting documentation in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I ran across one recently that just took me off my feet. And it talks about how they figured out how to get longer life for the people on earth, and it had everything to do with blood. I'm putting these things together. You're going to see this in a documentary I'm putting together myself. All right, so if you drop down to verse 8, and behind the doors and posts hast thou set up thy symbol, for thou hast uncovered, art gone up from me. Thou hast enlarged thy bed, and chosen thee of them whose bed thou lovest, whose hand thou sawest. And thou wentest to the king with the ointment, and did increase thy perfumes, and did send thine ambassadors afar off, even down to the netherworld, to Sheol. You send your ambassadors to hell? Wow. Thou wast wearied with length of thy way, yet saidst thou not, there is no hope. Thou didst find a renewal of thy strength, therefore thou wast not affected. What? I mean, are you putting the pieces together here? I apologize. I forgot. It was actually right in the Bible I found this there, right? Thou didst find a renewal of thy strength, therefore thou wast not affected. All right? They send ambassadors to Sheol, to the grave, to hell, right? But you noticed up there, he's talking about that they slay the children in the valleys and the clefts of the rock. Now, is there a connection to that? Because he does say, thou didst find a renewal of thy strength, therefore thou wast not affected. And of whom hast thou been afraid and in fear, that thou wouldest fail? And as for me, thou hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy heart. Have not I held my peace even of a long time? Therefore thou fearest me not. I will declare thy righteousness, thy works also. They shall not profit you. When you cry, let them that you have gathered delivered thee, but the wind shall carry them all away, and the breath shall bear them off. But he that taketh refuge in me shall possess the land, and shall inherit my holy mountain. Remember, John said it came down as a bride adorned for her bridegroom. And he will say, cast you up, clear the way, take up the stumbling block out of the way of my people. Take that stumbling block up. So the modern state of Israel was never, this is not the hand of God. That's a Rothschild invention. And all you need to do is do a little research. You'll find out that's a reptilian race right there. The Rothschilds, in fact, tomorrow morning we have coming on, you won't see it probably tomorrow morning, but I've got an amazing man that knows a lot about this Nephilim races in their different genealogical family lines. I'll also be talking about 5G, what they're going to use to do this to you. And you know how Jan has talked about that. Anyway, just as a reminder though, and we'll go back up here to 57. Let me go back up though, right? Where he says here, against whom make you what? Okay, what? No. But draw near hither your sons of sorcerers, the seed of the adulterer and of the harlot, right? Now, that's not the same as what Ezra is talking about when in Ezra chapter 9 right here, okay, doing according to their abominations. See, what did he say? Now when these had done, the things were done, the princes drew near unto me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the peoples of the land. Okay? Doing according to their abominations, even the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites, Egyptians, and the Amorites, for they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the peoples of the lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been first in this faithlessness. Right? There's the word right there. Vehita Arabu. All right? That is the word right there that I'll highlight in the middle for you here. Arav. Okay? Vehita Aravu. All right? That is the mingling. That's like twining, like the braid on a woman's hair. Twines it together. It's a DNA intermingling, right? Zara HaKodesh. The holy seed, Zara is for the word seed, Be'ami ha'arotzot, all right? And they did that throughout all these people here, the people that were from the lands. He's talking about the Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites. They were from all the lands. It wasn't Babylonians that they were intermingling with. It was the ones that came with them out of the middle of Israel when they were taken into captivity, just like the Israelites were taken into captivity. And why were the Israelites taken into captivity? Well, I think in the book of Psalms is one of the reasons we can see it. They did not destroy the peoples as the Lord commanded, okay? Commanded them, but now he's talking about what people did not destroy. God said when they were coming in the lands, they were to take out these people. The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, and the Amorites, and all these guys here, Egyptians, they didn't name that one, but all these they were to take out. But they didn't do it. So in Psalm 106, he says, they did not destroy the peoples as the Lord commanded them. But what? They mingled themselves with the nations and learned their works. Totally what God said don't do. Not only did they mingle in with them, but they also learned how to bring that fallen reptilian race in. Because don't forget, Isaiah also said there, they make wide their mouth and draw out their tongues. A serpent race, right? And they served their idols, which became a snare to them. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto demons. He's not talking about necessarily putting them on a golden altar and burning them. In other words, when they gave over their sons and daughters and took unto them and married them and mingled the seeds, that's a sacrifice to the devil. No wonder why God said, be ye not therefore unequally yoked together. Wow. And shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters whom they sacrificed unto idols of Canaan. And the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their works and went astray in their doings. All right? And yes, you may have actual sacrifice as well, because we know already from what we saw right here in Isaiah 57, they also took and they slay the children in the valleys. It's a mingling of a seed, but it's also a sacrificial event that takes place, and they find out, and I'm just, this is only a conjecture, when it gets to verse 10, thou didst find a renewal of thy strength, therefore thou wast not affected. I'm assuming that something to do with the sacrificing is what gives them that renewal, that boost, going back now to Psalm 106. Thus they defiled the works and went astray in their doings. All right. Now, Proverbs 24. Another one that's very, very interesting. He says, my son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. Ooh, there again. Actually, this is what's important. They didn't translate it the way I think it should be translated. Meddle not with them that are given to change, but rather meddle not with, in other words, all right, don't mingle with those that can transform. For their calamity shall rise suddenly. You're looking at two words. This is like shonim. Shon is where it comes from, and it's the ability to transform. And I brought this one out because if you think about it, this is exactly what they say that people like the prince in England is able to do. They claim, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they say that, you know, they're one of the reptilian bloodlines, and that if they don't get enough blood, then they would actually, their character begins to change. And you can see that reptilian side of them. If that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know the scripture says that you're not to meddle not with them that are given to change. He says not to mingle with them that are able to transform themselves. That's basically what it is. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin from them both? These also are sayings of the wise, to have respect of persons in judgment is not good. There's a lot I could say about this right here. I mean, a lot. I mean, you know, some things I'm just not going to speak about, but I trust that there are those of you that really God has opened your eyes and you understand, and you may be able to take that a bit further. All right? Now, in Psalm 37, depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth justice and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. Ezra Rashaim. All right? So, there is a wicked seed. There is demonic devils, right? Just making sure I didn't have something else I wanted to share with you on that. All right? And of course, we go back to Daniel 2 once again. And whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves by the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron doth not mingle with clay. And in the days of those kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. That's that mountain that comes down out of heaven. Nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, but it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. Why the clay? Remember, if you take that mark of the beast, whether you're a human or not, you take on this new age antichrist system, microchipping, becoming one with this AI world, that stone is going to crush you as well. God, you know, listen, and I know some people are wondering already, well, how do we know what we're from? By their fruits you know them. Let me just to clarify this for many of you that are worried about things like that. You love Yeshua, the Lord Jesus of Nazareth with all your heart. You want to do those things that are right. See, that shows that you are a child of God. You know, I realize there's a lot of bloodlines that have been mixed. And so God is looking for those souls that are His. All right? And I don't say that just because somebody is, you know, mixed into somewhere into this, I can't even get into that. I really can't. I don't understand what's what. Because I know the Pharisees mixed their bloodline, but not all the Pharisees were that way. Paul wasn't that way. Nicodemus wasn't that way. So not all the priests were guilty, just like not all the children of Israel were guilty. Not all the Gentiles were guilty of mixing their races, but there were a lot of people that did. And so Satan has his own people on this earth as well as God has his. All right? Now in closing here, let me just share with you Isaiah 14. The nether world from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. This one's really interesting. Let me back up, make sure I'm at the right place. This is talking about where Satan comes down, right? I want you to notice the verbiage. The nether world, or Sheol, right? From beneath thee is moved for you to meet you at your coming. The shades are stirred up for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. All the kings of the nations are raised up from their thrones. Now, think about that when you go to supporting all these world leaders, okay? Because Satan is being cast out of heaven. He's coming down to the earth, and it says, the netherworld from beneath is moved for you to meet you at your coming. The shades are stirred up for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth, all the kings of the nations are raised up from their thrones. All they do answer and say unto you, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Satan's thrown out of heaven and sent down to the earth, but the kings stand up when he comes. Thy pomp is brought down to the netherworld, and the noise of thy psalteries, the maggot is spread under thee, and the worms cover you. How art thou fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground? Didst thou cast lots over the nations? And thou saidst in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven above the stars of God, and I will exalt my throne. And I will sit upon the mount of meeting in the uppermost parts of the north. And I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to the netherworld, to Sheol, or to hell, I think KJV says it, to the uttermost parts of the pit. They that saw thee do narrowly look upon thee. They gaze earnestly at thee. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? All right. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? Let's drop to verse 19. But thou art cast forth away from thy grave like an abhorred offshoot in the raiment of the slain, that are thrust through with the sword, that go down in the pavement of the pit, and carcass trodden under foot. That tells me he comes down as a man. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land. Thou hast slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall not be named forever. Again, he has his own seed, but he comes down and becomes a man. I think it's interesting. But whatever you do, don't forget that Isaiah 57. This one is the one that's just amazing to me. You look at this Isaiah 57. They are, verse 3, but draw near hither, you sons of sorcerers, the seed of the adulterer and the harlot. Against whom do you sport yourselves? Against whom make you wide mouth and dry out the tongue? A reptilian race. All hidden right here in the Word of God. I'm Steve Ben-Nun. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support of this ministry. God bless you, and we trust you'll enjoy the time you spend with your families this holiday season. Erev Tov.